I'm at InfoSec 2024 with Rich from Metomic. Hi Rich, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, good to be here.
So, first and foremost, I think what everyone's wondering is, Metomic, what is it you do and what unique security problems are you solving?
For sure. Hopefully some of the stuff you see around you, you can see. So we're data security for SaaS applications.
Yep.
So at Metomic, we plug into many different SaaS applications via their APIs, and we're looking for sensitive data. So things like PHI, PII, PCI, confidential data in general, whatever's sensitive to you as a company. We're looking for this, understanding where it is in all these unique areas of SaaS applications, all of the context around them, and then we're enabling automated policies to prevent risks appearing. So whether it be you don't want certain types of data being public or data being there at all, whatever it might be, we're automating this process of keeping SaaS apps clean, all at the data layer.
That's really interesting and kind of an interesting take, because doing that by plugging in to the back end of these SaaS apps, that seems like really, really neat. In a general sense though, we're here to kind of look at information security. That's what this trade show is all about. What are some of the biggest kind of concerns that you think kind of the industry is facing around this data security?
So what we see a huge amount, why customers use our product so widely is because SaaS applications are so unique in their approach to how they're storing sensitive data, the hidden elements of it, we call it shadow data. So there's so many different corners of SaaS applications, whether it be a Slack channel that is unique to only 3 people in the organization, or somewhere in Google Drive that only a few people have access to. There's so many hidden corners of SaaS applications. And SaaS applications make it so easy to create these hidden areas, and they can be exposed publicly. So there's no boundaries to SaaS. It's easy to invite other people, to collaborate with other people inside and outside of the organization. So the problem that we address and why information security teams work with us is they can't see a lot of the sensitive data. They don't know what the risks are. That's number one. Number two is when it comes to preventing these risks appearing, it's very hard to do that without getting in the way of productivity, which a lot of these apps are there in the first place to enable. So a lot of the questions we get is, how do we keep these SaaS apps clean, making sure that there's not too much sensitive data or it's exposed to too many people, without getting in the way of employees doing their jobs?
Absolutely. I think a conversation I was having this morning was around cybersecurity and data security risks. Someone was saying to me that actually cybersecurity risks and data security risks, they don't exist.
Yeah.
They're called business risks.
Yeah.
And I think we security people, myself as a CISO, we can sometimes be, well, let's lock it down. And then business grinds to a halt, when actually what we need to be doing is facilitating work in a safe environment by implementing guardrails.
Exactly.
And, our job is to create a safe environment for business to take place, not put roadblocks up and stop people from essentially doing their jobs, right?
And we see more of a trend towards this. So we have more, just in the market, we're hearing more, how do we allow productivity whilst keeping data secure, rather than how do we keep data secure whilst enabling productivity? I think we're really seeing that switch to being security teams are enablers. They're there to help security, IT, sometimes compliance teams. They are to help get the best of these tools. SaaS applications aren't going to go away. We all know that you're not going to have very much success as a strategy of closing down these applications. You put yourself on the back foot as a company. So we're shifting more towards how do we enable productivity whilst minimizing risk. Because we can't prevent it fully, there's always some risk. So we're seeing more of a shift towards that.
Absolutely. And I think security teams are realizing that they are essentially a support function for a wider business. They're not generating money, they don't make the business money. In fact, in a lot of cases, they cost money to implement, so they need to really be complementing the strategic imperatives of a business as opposed to hindering them.
Definitely. And that's why we're seeing, we're talking about data security. Some would think about this like the subset of DLP, for example. We're definitely seeing a shift in the way that it's being approached from more legacy DLP stuff, whether it be like DLP for like on-premise databases, or even DLP of emails, kind of different because it's a case of like blocking emails or not blocking emails. But in the world of SaaS, they're so dynamic, they're so rich in functionality and just surface area that it's requiring a very new approach, and that's why we focus on it solely.
Absolutely. Something that we've been discussing quite a lot at this show is kind of insider risk and insider threat programs. And I think kind of links in slightly with kind of what you're doing is that there's always a tension there in between, security teams and businesses don't want to feel like they're really spying on their users. It's not a kind of a big brother type state. But in the same vein, they've got a responsibility to their shareholders and customers to protect their data and their systems. So how does one even start to approach and strike that balance? Really?
Yeah.
It's a thorny question, I realise.
No, it's a fantastic question. One of the big parts of Metomic, so I talked about automating risk remediation and how it's different to versus things like email, where it might be more like blocking emails and so on. What we see, a lot of our customers are remediating risks via the employees. So an employee creates a file in SharePoint, for example, that contains sensitive data. Rather than deleting that file or changing the access levels, actually what we're seeing happening is an automated message going to the employee, so we power these messages, to say, hey, you just created a file inside SharePoint, which looks like it contains sensitive data. Did you mean to do that? Is there business purpose behind that? And the employees themselves can remediate this risk directly. So in answer to your question, employees are valuing that. They like the fact that they've got this sort of added protection. They know that if they do make a mistake, maybe they didn't read the policies correctly or the policies haven't been updated, they know that Metomic or their company is there to help catch them if they make an accidental risk before it becomes too late. So in general, there might be a little bit of upfront element of is this spying or not, but a lot of it's just catching non-malicious behavior. A lot of security risks in SaaS particularly are accidental. And B, you actually feel like these tools have got your back. It's helping you out as an employee, not just the security team.
Absolutely. It's like shifting from security being something that's done to your user base to done with your security.
Exactly.
We co-opt and we collaboratively move forward rather than it being, the big security team, CISO, pointing down, this
Definitely.
is what we have to do, which is, I don't believe ever has worked. It just incenses people.
And the messages with Metomic, you can configure these messages to employees. So when they make an accidental data leak or something, these notifications that go out to them via Slack and via Teams and so on. These messages aren't aggressive. Security teams aren't enabling hey, don't do this, or
it's not this capitals. You have
we don't see that. It's way more friendly, and even beyond friendly, it's almost becoming gamified and taking a very different approach to it, right?
Exactly. It's kind of almost like a bumper on the side of the road as opposed to a blocker in front.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, this risk is being caught before it becomes a problem. So it's good news in some ways, right? And obviously we see the employees getting better the more they get these notifications and they interact with these notifications, has a real impact on the business.
No, that makes perfect sense. So, interesting either-or question here, and I'm asking most people this, and it's fun. Data breach or data leak? Which would you say is worse, and why? If indeed one is worse than the other.
That is a very good question. The way I think about it is, for me, there's data leaking. If I think about it, there's data leaks. There's many data leaks happening. So data is just leaking outside. It might not even be leaking outside the organization, right? It's leaking. And so in our world, when we think about SaaS, it could be a Google Drive file that's shared externally for too long.
Exactly. Leaking across a trust boundary.
Exactly. It's just leaking a little bit too far, and maybe it's accessible to someone who's no longer with the business or something. For me, a data breach is something has been breached. Someone's inside your system, inside a file, proactively looking at it. A data leak is maybe more of the potential of that to be there. So I think the way I think about it is there's many more data leaks, but they might be slightly less in general on average in severity. A data breach is probably more a binary, something bad has happened and we need to do something about it.
Exactly, more of a targeted specific.
More of a targeting. So data leaks lead to data breaches in a lot of ways,
Yeah, kind of a passive versus an active.
Yes, I think about it. That's the way I think about it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And final question, and I apologise, this is a thorny one, but it's a topic du jour. People seem to be discussing it, and governments certainly are. The whole ransomware thing. We have various governments talking firstly about public and private partnerships in supporting industry, but then on the other hand, there's conversations around making the payment of ransomware kind of demands illegal. I know it's kind of a hard question, but do you have any thoughts on the whole topic as to?
I mean, it's a super tough one. I know that there's many debates going on about it. I'll answer the generic. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think there's going to be different approaches to it. What's good is that I think all of these risks are being addressed. They're coming to the forefront. The fact that we're talking about it now is a great thing. And so I think there's a lot of active conversation going on around it. I think what the end result is, it might not be the best solution that will last forever, but something needs to be done. And I think that we'll see some movement around that, whether it's the right approach from day one or not. I'm not sure yet. I mean, so I sort of remain balanced, but it's good that we're talking about it and we are leading to some solution, whether it's the perfect one. For me, that's less important than the fact that it is being addressed.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that it's never great to kind of try and figure out the right thing to do in a vacuum of the real world. I think kind of theory is one thing. I think we can all agree that giving money to criminals is not the most ideal situation.
Yeah.
However, on the flip side, I've yet to know of a large criminal international group that when its revenue stream is threatened, they suddenly decide to get legitimate legal jobs. They pack it away. No, certainly they don't. Their attacks tend to intensify, and it's the small to medium enterprise that usually get hit.
And what's great is we're here, you know, there's so many vendors and conversations going on here about ways to prevent these risks coming up in the first place. So the industry's moving in the right way.
Indeed, and a lot of these things tend to boil down to basics as well, of kind of cyber hygiene, configuration management, and implementing guardrails around ensuring that data is in the right place, you know it's flowing, you know where it's going. So back again to your products, contributing to helping to protect data. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a genuine pleasure to chat to you, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.